It's been a busy week in Hong Kong racing, both on and off the track. Off the track, we had some significant news surrounding a legend of the sport. On the track this weekend, we've got the first leg of the four-year-old series as the rising stars of Hong Kong racing strut their stuff. Here's what's coming up on HK Direct. And earlier this week, we had legendary rider Douglas White announce his retirement as he turns his attention to a training career here in Hong Kong. Plus, we've got Dave Morgan in the studio to look at that and the Hong Kong Classic Mile, the feature race this Sunday. Great to have David back on the show. David, big news earlier this week around Douglas White. What was your reaction to it?
Well, it was a surprise. This rumour's been spinning around on and off for the last year with not a real great deal of foundation. But, yeah, people turned up at the track the other morning and were all talking about what was going to happen, and there was a little bit of surprise when Douglas walked into that room. Before
we talk about what lies ahead for Douglas as a trainer, let's look back, because there are so many highlights in a career spanning over 2 decades here in Hong Kong in the saddle. We know how tough it is to be a successful jockey here in Hong Kong, let alone for the length of time that Douglas has done it. You've picked out Akeed Mafid's Derby win in 2013 as a memorable moment. Here he is, the hot favourite in the race down the outside. Why have you picked this one out?
Well, the thing I love about this race is there was an awful lot of pressure going in, and I think Douglas has talked about this before, the pressure that he was under. He'd won his lead-up race very easy. He was a big money purchase from Ireland, this horse. They spent a lot of money. He had a big reputation. Went off, I think it was 1.9 favourite, and he pulls really hard through the race. He's keen, he wants to get on with it, and Douglas has to really manage him, and he manages him expertly, as a great horseman would. By the time they get to the 800, the pace quickens and he starts to come into it, and it's basically Douglas's managing of the horse, that horseman's instinct as to what to do with him, and that he had a horse left at the end that could go and finish his race and win the Derby.
He went on to win the Hong Kong Cup too, with Douglas on board Akeed Mafid, and an international day that was particularly significant, not just with Akeed Mafid that year as well.
Yeah, well, of course, he had glorious days as well. He won the mile, and again, two nice rides. And the thing about those rides, if you look at them, Douglas doesn't do anything brilliant that stands out. But what he does, he rides the horses, both of them, in a way that allows them to be brilliant, is the way I look at it. And 2 fantastic performances again on the day.
You look at what he's done, 13-time champion rider from 2000-2001 up until the 2012-2013 season. More wins than any other jockey in the professional era of Hong Kong. What's made Douglas White the champion jockey that he was and the career that he's had?
I mean, first off, he's a fantastic horseman. He's a very good jockey, but plenty of very good jockeys and good horsemen have come here and failed. I think what Douglas has, he has that, what I like to call a champion's edge. He's not concerned about what other people are doing so much. He's completely focused. He works incredibly hard, and he wants to win. He's out there to win. That's his job. He has a job to do, and he's completely focused on that.
And for racing fans, there's still time to appreciate his skills in the saddle. Of course, he'll finish on the 10th of February before then transitioning to his training career.
Yeah, sure. And, I mean, hopefully we'll see a big send-off with maybe a win or 2 on that day, and then going into his training career. And I think there's a feeling around Sha Tin for some time now that if anyone was going to make a really good trainer in Hong Kong out of the jockeys' ranks, it was going to be Douglas White, given his experience of the system here, of the whole circuit, and, like we've mentioned before, his knowledge as a horseman.
I think it's fair to say that his achievements in the saddle won't be matched here in Hong Kong in the future. We wish Douglas all the best for what's left of his riding career, and also all the best for what lies ahead in an exciting career as a trainer. He'll be involved in the feature race this Sunday, which is the Hong Kong Classic Mile, worth $10 million. And up the top of the field is a Dark Dream with 104 as his rating. Clearly the top pick on ratings in the race, the Queensland Derby winner. 1 of 5 in the race for Frankie Law, who's also got super rich Zach Purton's mount at Mr. So-and-so is 2 for 2. We'll be speaking more about Ka-Ying Star shortly, and also about Tigre de Terre. Pierre-Charles Boudot is in town to ride Charity Go. And down the bottom to Green Luck, who's the lowest rated in the field on a mark of 81. Let's have a look at a couple of runners in the race then, David. One of the exciting things about this 4-year-old series is we get horses from different backgrounds, from different hemispheres, match their form lines here in Hong Kong. And from Australia, we've got Dark Dream, the Queensland Derby winner. This was his impressive win over 2,000 metres. He's back to the mile on Sunday, though.
Yeah, I mean, this was a fantastic Derby trial. He looks a real good stayer, quality. The way he puts this race to sleep in the closing stages suggests that he's going to be even better over ground. The question now, as Frankie Law mentioned this morning, is coming back in distance, is he going to be sharp enough for the mile? You look at a horse like Werther, who had a similar profile, who came in and was just touched off in the mile, very close. He was a little bit unlucky, perhaps. So there's a precedent that he can go very close, if not win. But there is that little question mark about the distance, stepping back. Exultant last year, for example, couldn't do that.
Yeah, I have him as sort of the exultant in the race, the horse that I like as my Derby pick, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Dark Dream win on Sunday, but coming back to the mile, that awkward draw there, the things that are putting me off him from tipping him on top.
Yeah, sure, and I'm the same. That's the slight concern that I have, but he's definitely got the quality, there's no question.
Yep, he's the class horse in the field, 12 rating points clear of anything else. You're not a person that gets particularly excited about anything unless it's completely warranted. There are two horses on screen here that I know have got you excited. Carrying Star, who formerly races Urban Aspect in the UK, and we've also got Tigre de Terre, who raced under the same name in the UK when he's trained by Richard Hannon. What do you like about these two?
Well, I mean, Carrying Star, he was a really progressive type in England, and he's come here in first up, not really expected, got out in front, and people make a big deal about the slow fractions and that he kicked, and you've got to take that into consideration. But the way he sprinted away from these horses, Ferrara, who on the face of it, he's taken a forward step from his first run, looks a real candidate for the Classic Mile, and he's just sprinted away from them. The others couldn't really get into it. And I think that was a really good first-up run that I would hope he can build on. He's got to overcome a wide draw in 14. If Vincent Ho can get him across and get that lead, I think he's a massive, massive chance in this race. Tigre de Terre, I watched him on TV when I was back in England last summer. I saw him win at Sandown and was very impressed with that. He's a horse that, first up, really good run. Second up, there's a little bit of concern coming off that run. I still think he's a high-quality animal. Casper Founds believes he is, but maybe he's just one for the Derby rather than the Classic Mile. Do we forgive that run, given that he was midfield? It was a race that was hard to make up ground in. Is it just let's look at the first up run rather than the second up run? Yeah, I think the second up run, certainly there's the fact that there was no pace on would not suit him. But you still have to think, historically, horses that run well first up don't run quite so well second up. They're going to go one of two ways. You're either going to come out of that and do well, or you're just going to go a bit flat. And so the jury has to be out a little bit on him. When you look at this four-year-old series, one thing that really intrigues me about it is you go back a couple of years ago, Rapid Dragon was a standout four-year-old coming into it and lived up to that through the four-year-old series. Nothing I Like More last year was a standout. Did it in the Classic Mile. Things didn't go as well that way the next two legs. There's no real standout just yet, though, is there, this year? No, there isn't. And you look at a horse like Super Rich, for example, who's been on the ground doing it last season, out again doing it this season. And over the last maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years, only 2 horses have come in as PPs, imported from overseas into their first season off a couple of runs into the Classic Mile, have actually been able to win the race. The rest have all been on the ground racing for a long period of time. So Super Rich would be a horse, for example, that would need to come into consideration on that. OK, we've thrown around a few names. Is there one, though, for you for Sunday? Well, I'm leaning towards Carrying Star. I think Furore ran a really good race there. He'll take a step forward. Of course, Dark Dream's going to be a big player. And Super Rich, he's got to be thereabouts. A horse like Packing Warrior is a horse to keep an eye on. He ran a really good race first up if you're looking at him as a Derby prospect. But for me, that first run, Carrying Star. OK, really looking forward to Sunday. Thank you for your time on the show, David, and a lot to look forward to over the next few weeks and months, really, with these four-year-olds. Thank you. Tune into the racing on Sunday. You can join the trackside team for all of the action. The Centenary Vase is the first of the features, featuring proven Group 1 performers in Time Warp, Exultant Vase winner, and also the Cup winner Inglorious Forever. And that leads in nicely to the Hong Kong Classic Mile, the first piece of the four-year-old Classic Series puzzle, due at 4:35. You'll be able to catch David's report on the day on the website hkjc.com. You can also go to Twitter to follow us through social media.
That's it for the show this time around. Thanks for watching. Tune in on Thursday next week when we've got a special interview coming up with Sam Clifford, and he talks about his time in Hong Kong racing before returning to Australia. Join us for all the racing at Shard 10 on Sunday. It's going to be a super day. We hope to have your company then.